Welcome um, to the Mike G or the OG Mike podcast. Um, and my name is Mike. This will be the first episode of the OG Mike podcast, and I'm here to kind of help you guys out a tad bit if you're thinking about joining the military. Uh, and more so from my perspective is more so dealing with the army, but I'm pretty sure some of this information can go hand in hand with those of you who want to or thinking about joining the military. Um, I can give you a little rundown uh, about my own experience, like a little overview, and I'll touch on a few things as I'm talking throughout the episode. I came fresh out of high school. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and I can tell you, firsthand if you were feeling like how I was when I was around about, 17, 18. I had two choices, and basically it was, well, actually probably even three, and that was to actually either go to college, um, just go straight into, work, like a regular, civilian job, and then uh, another option was the military. And of course, eventually I chose the military. I felt like there was a lot more to offer based off of, my interaction with my recruiter at that particular time. He was, middle-aged guy from the Virgin Islands. He was about like like a E6, staff sergeant in the army. Um, and I was just, basically like just wanting to hear them out, and I kind of looked at it and I said, you know what, let me just go ahead and kind of like look deeper into this versus just hearing them out on a few talking points. So you know he kind of handed me out some like pamphlets and stuff like that, and I could look at it and I can kind of make my decisions from there. I can't even talk right. But him giving me that particular type of rundown on the stuff that I needed to know as far as like you know making sure this is the right situation for me. I think he did a fantastic job. Um, and that particular recruiter actually came to my house, and he was looking around. He was like, "Man, you guys living in some bad conditions. So, just let me help you out as best as I possibly can. Because let me tell you this, this does happen. You do have some recruiters out there that are like, car salesmen or snake oil salesmen, and they try to, get one over on you. But it's majority of the time it's not like that. Most of those guys are trying to help you out and stuff like that. Because you will hear stories from other people that joined and say, my recruiter lied to me and stuff like that. That does happen. So, like I said, just make sure, like, especially this being a life changing decision, just make sure this is something that you are dedicated to doing. But at the same time, hopping back on a recruiter, just make sure that's somebody that's actually genuine and that's ready to help you out. And if they can't help you out, because this is your life, reach out to somebody else at the recruiting station. And if the whole recruiting station is bad, then you got to jump up and take your talents elsewhere. like, but yeah, man. So I would just say, just if you're in high school right now, or if you're in college, or if you're an older person and that you're thinking about joining the military, please check it out and just do your due diligence. And like I said, I'm advocating, but I'm not telling you, go join because it's this the right thing to do and stuff like that. Nah, just purely a suggestion. So just take that with a grain of salt and just um, do with the information that you want to, because like I said, this is your life. Um, from my experience, before I even jumped into the military, I was doing JROTC, and JROTC was kind of gave me like a little, feel for the military a little bit. And if you guys are in high school right now, I think that's pretty much a good program to jump into. I want to say College Guide ROTC if I'm not mistaken, but if they do have it there, not too sure, but you know, jump into the program. It'll give you like a little light feel of what it feels like to be in the military. Um, for those of you who are like again, that you're in high school or if you're in college, I suggest if you're really serious about this, take the ASVAB test and take that test as if it was like SATs and when you get into college and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you're doing your best, or the ACT. Just make sure that you're putting 100% or 110% or 1,000% of effort into that exam, because the higher you score on that exam, that's the better opportunities that you'll be receiving going into joining the military. You know, uh, and for me, I scored pretty high, or pretty I was pretty good and stuff like that. So that kind of opened up the lane for me to choose a lot of jobs, and my recruiter was kind of impressed, and he was like, all right, and mind you, like if you don't know anything about the ASVAB, it's basic arithmetic, and it's a lot of reading comprehension and stuff like that. So I say take that test extremely serious, and that way you can have more opportunities for yourself if this is something that you want to do. All right, so my next thing of advice for you guys is to kind of like if you have time, especially if you have a lot of time, try to get yourself physically fit as much as possible. If you had a short amount of time like I did, I think I had like maybe 2 weeks before I was supposed to push off. I still went out there and tried to get out of the house and try to do a little bit of more exercise than what I was used to doing. So I would jog the neighborhood. Uh, I was already doing push-ups and sit-ups, in high school and stuff. But I wanted to make sure that I was already prepared and stuff like that. And then plus I was playing a lot of basketball anyway, so my endurance was kind of up at that age, of 18. Um, but yeah, this will get you ahead of the curve a little bit. So I want you guys to get out there and just take your newly found, or if you want to call it your career, as this if you decide to, just take it extremely serious. Um, and if you want to know like more information outside of what I'm giving you right now, please have more in-depth conversations with your recruiter. Okay, your recruiter is going to be like the guy that's going to be like your first point of contact, of course, before you're entering into the military. So you want to know everything that you need to know, that you have questions about. Just make sure that he or she can answer that for you. My recruiter did, like I said before, an excellent job. So I was pretty satisfied from the time that I signed up to the time I got out. And and if you guys need like extra help and stuff like that, just comment in the comment section, and I'll try to get some more information to you. You know, especially if it's like a more in-depth question, or if it's something that you are, like a section of the military that you really want to join and stuff like that. You got questions or whatever the case may be, I'm here to help because, a lot of us who are veterans, we can tell you better than anybody, firsthand. Um, yeah, and then if you don't, and also too, if you have like a counselor at your high school, that's another quick way to get in contact with recruiter, and they can give you rundown too, because that's kind of like who we talk to, because it was hand in hand with going with the the ASVAB exam, because school's all about academics, so they really wanted you to excel at everything. At least at my high school, they wanted us to excel at everything as far as like taking exams and stuff, because they wanted us to have more opportunities. So SAT, ACT, and ASVAB, and of course the statewide or state level graduation tests that you had to take. So make sure that you guys are doing your best out there, and if you feel like you kind of like on the end where you don't really have much of a choice, military is always there, and again, I'll run down a few things. This, you do have free college, all right, free college, it's 100% paid for, and there are some situations that may vary, but again, like your schooling is free. uh, you get free free housing, free uh, clothing allowances and stuff like that for your uniform, so you don't have to come out of pocket. Uh, and I'll tell you this, sometimes if you already have pretty good, decent uniforms that are still that you're still able to use, you don't even have to use that clothing allowance exactly on those uniforms. You can take it and use it for something else. And yeah, man, this that's like like a good way to have like stability, as far as like income and job security and stuff like that, because it's tough out there in the civilian world, believe it or not. So military is always consistent. First and 15th, you get two checks every month. Um, and you're never looking for work. You can always switch jobs. You just got to go back to AIT or whatever military schooling in order for you uh, to train for another job and stuff like that. So it's pretty it's just stable. That's the best word I can use to describe it. It's very stable. Um, what else? The now like when now I talk about this too for short term, but deployments, like when you get deployed, you in generally get more money. Your money jumps up. You get COLA and housing and all this other good stuff that's seen on your statement, because you get a statement every month. It's called the LES, and then you'll start to see all this whole breakdown of all the money that you're accruing over a time period, and that's another thing. And your leave also, your leave days, your R&R days in the civilian world, but what they call it leave. Your leave days in the military can also be equivalent to money if you don't use them. So you can actually cash out on those too, and receive a check. Because by the time I had got out the military, I cashed in all my days, and I had quite a bit of money. So because I didn't really take a lot of vacation due to the fact that it was always somebody else uh, going on the time period that I'm going in. And mind you, how the military works, they always um, work from a percentage aspect. So whatever percentage of personnel that they have, that's that's the that's the way that they want to keep it. They want to keep up their manpower to a certain percentage. So the R&R or the leave is really kind of first come first serve. So you got to make sure that you put your stuff in, because they want to have like a certain amount of people on ground versus having half the company or half the unit, what I'm saying, on leave. Um, but yeah, that's also a good thing. Traveling, there are some jobs in the military where you'll be able to travel a lot. You know, I see a lot of people, especially nowadays. I see a lot of people that are in uniform right now. They're military, and they travel a lot. They travel more than I did. And I've been to a couple of places, but it seems like military today is probably a little bit more better when it comes to allowing soldiers to travel. Um, and for me, I only been to South Korea, of course Iraq and Afghanistan for deployments, Qatar, and of course Kuwait, due to deployments as well. What else? And then you kind of like get on those planes to go other places like Kyrgyzstan and Germany and Ireland and stuff like that. You get to see a lot of this, stuff while you're traveling or while you're in uniform. So it's really like such a great opportunity. I for one, would just suggest it. That's it. I suggest just looking into it, seeing what's really like it's going to match, and it's completely exactly like the civilian world, except with more order and more punctuation when it comes to like being on time and stuff like that. That's the only thing. All you got to do is show up. That's it. You know what I'm saying? You basically getting a free gym membership. You know what I'm saying? You're getting free clothing and food and housing, and you get free education. Basically. And then of course you also have other things as far as it's like insurance and VA loans and stuff like that, which goes into you starting up getting into the housing market. You know, I mean, it's 0% down for a brand new home because I think on average, if I'm not mistaken, I think you got to put 30% down if you're civilian. You have to put 30% as a veteran or as a active duty or uh, National Guard or Reserve. You put 0%. That's it. And I would highly suggest looking at these these type of things because the benefits are extremely great. And then healthcare, that's another thing. Healthcare is completely free. You get hurt in the military, they're taking care of you. Like uh, from people, and it's other deeper aspects of the healthcare. So if you have other things that you want to get done for yourself, then you can probably do that through the healthcare that the military provides and stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, that's mainly why I'm trying to like provide this information to you guys. If you instead of just kind of looking it up and then taking it for what you're reading, you can hear from here, and you can hear from other veterans too. I'm pretty sure some other guys that's got channels and stuff like that. They'll probably tell you about it. The VA is very or the military is very very helpful. In the long run. So you can never lose. And then another thing is uh, jobs that are not synonymous with what you did in the military. Now I will say this: it's not like 100% of every jobs, but it's still a large percentage of jobs that still go hand in hand with what you did in the military. So like you got guys that probably were infantry and artillery and stuff like that, and even them they still find jobs like pulling security and stuff like that because you got to think about it. They have uh, private contracting companies. I even work for a private contracting company doing security for a couple of months or so. And I did that while I was overseas, and that's another thing as well. Overseas contracting. You can always get yourself into military contracting if you don't want to stick it out and do the whole 20 like I did. I didn't stick it out. I only did 8 years. But once you get out, you can get uh, high paying 5-figure jobs or 6-figure salaries, getting into contracting jobs, because there's like Floors, KBR, there's IAP, there's so many contracting companies that's been around for decades. Saying since JFK was president. That's how long these companies been around, and they always work hand in hand with the military. So um, yeah, you guys, this is like a good opportunity. And then even when you get out, for you guys that plan on doing 20 years, some of the people that I came in the military with that's just got out probably within the last 2 to 3 years or so, a lot of them are doing very well for themselves. So, people are owning houses. I know one guy, I just saw him on just on Facebook, man. He had about like, 10 cars in the driveway. I said, Jesus Christ, you know what I'm saying? So this is what this stuff will get you. And it's a guarantee. And then when you do 20 years, it's a guaranteed check every month for your service that you provided to the military. So this is like a win-win. This is income that most people, especially now within the past 10 to 15 years, it's been a struggle. Recessions and all that, collapses in markets, from housing to whatever else. Job markets. It's just kind of crazy to look at. So you putting your 20 years in, and then you're receiving a check that you worked hard for. That's the best thing you can get. Also, like, if you get hurt in the military, that's always another thing. Um, you get hurt in the military, you're also guaranteed compensation for that. As long as it happened on the timeline of you being in the military. You know, say like if you uh, were working outside and you were just doing your job or something like that, uh, and let's say some random shots were being fired while you were overseas, and you either got hit or you probably fell off a truck or something. And this is stuff, and all this stuff is being documented. Uh, your all that stuff is proof of you getting your compensation. So a lot of stuff happens to some of our veterans in the military, and they get compensated for pretty nicely. So and they put their lives on the line. So and this stuff is actually real. So uh, either way it goes, what I'm saying, you have more wins than you do losses if you join the military. So this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. Um, so if you do decide to go all the way through with this, your recruiter will start your in processing portion of you joining the military. It's a ton of paperwork. Just make sure that you got all your credentials. Your state and driver's license, state ID and driver's license, your social security card, point of contacts like your parents or somebody like that. You know, what else? I think that's pretty much it. And then of course you just filling out all your personal information. I mean, it's a ton of paperwork, but at the end of the day, it's going to be kind of worth it in the end. So after that, your recruiter should be able to give you like a push off date, like exactly when and where you're going to. Uh, Me myself, I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and what I'm saying. People, some people, especially in the army, they'll talk down, they call it relaxing Jackson and all that, but you know, basic training is basic training. But yeah, once get, because you could go anywhere, Fort Knox or wherever, or if you join another branch of service, in the Marines or something like that, they'll give you a date. But yeah, just get mentally prepared, once you get that push off date, because once that date gets closer, that's when you gotta strap up your boots. At that point, you gotta change your mentality, and put your best effort forward once you get in there. So yeah, after they and processed you and gave you all your paperwork and stuff like that, they'll take you to once that push off date arrives, you're not going to go directly to basic training. You'll be going to MEPS, and at MEPS, which is like the medical portion of them processing, because you're still in processing. They're going to do a complete checkup of everything that's uh, either right or wrong with your body. They're going to check out your dental, skin. If you have any like anything like skin funguses and stuff like that, rashes or whatever the case may be, allergies and stuff like that. They're checking for stuff like that. Um, they'll be also checking for anything wrong with your genitalia and stuff. And some people may have like some things going on. You never know. Uh, Maybe for you older guys who are trying to join, because I think the cutoff age is like 35. So you know they might give you a prostate exam. I'm not too sure. I know I'm up there as I'm 40 on the dot too, but I think they might do stuff like that, because most jobs do, especially depending on what you know kind of job that you're doing. But I know some jobs used to do that even when I was working overseas, and I wasn't even 35 yet, but they had people that were doing or companies that were doing prostate exams. Um, yeah, so it's all good, man. Just going through it, man. You probably ain't got to see that again no more. I've never seen or heard guys. So I might retract on that statement a little bit. Hold on now. I think I've heard a couple of like senior NCOs that were like 35 at the time when I was you know 26 or something like that. They were like, yeah, I just had my prostate exam. So they might still do those prostate exams. I don't know how often, but I think they still do them when you get in there. So if you are an older person, don't trip. Just go ahead and go on through it. Go through with it. Um, what else? Yeah. So once you once you've actually completed that first phase, this supposed to do like a secondary phase. So you guys like me when I went to MEPS, we went to Fort Gordon, and then from Fort Gordon, they uh, they had already gathered us up on the bus, and then they bused us down to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where we did the secondary phase. Um, and basically, it's not uh, a lot, you know, going on. They're just starting to group all the guys up, and then probably try to divide them up, by group, and give them to, you know, or turn you over to your actual drill sergeants or drill sergeants, because I think there's always two per platoon, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but yeah, man, this and what they'll do there at that secondary portion is, I know they gave us a pre-diagnostic PT test, um, and PT test stands for physical training, and basically they're just trying to like measure where you're actually at, and majority of everybody that's there is going to have like a basically like a failing type of test that's going to be the outcome, because your numbers are not going to match up. Long time ago, and I'm tell you what the PT test consists of. The PT test at that particular time when I was in was like push-ups and sit-ups and a 2 mile run. It's completely different now, and it's been different for probably about 10 years or so now. And the events are different. Only event that's pretty much the same was the 2 mile run. Now, for you other guys that are considering other branches, your PT test will be completely different. So you guys like Marines, I know they do pull-ups and stuff as part of their PT test, and so this is just completely different, man. That's it. Air Force always been kind of like they got like a whole different vibe going on with their physical assessment. So yeah, and then I think Navy as well. So and then not too sure about Space Force and all of them because Space Force was and still is kind of brand new to me. You know, even though it's been around for quite a long time. Um, but yeah, man, you just go out there and you still give it your all, still give it your best effort. Um, and that particular pre-diagnostic is it's not really going to count, but it's just like I said before, it's just a measurement of to see exactly where you guys are at, physically. Um, and then after that, you guys, because they'll hand you all your your medical documents, and please hold on to that. And I think they'll send you bust you guys down to your actual uh, day of basic training. And day one it's going to be kind of rough. It's going to be new to you. So for you guys that never ever got yelled at, by your parents or something like that, or somebody that was just like looked at as a figure of authority, and you never got like yelled at or anything like that, yeah, it's about to get real. As drill sergeants are there to break you down to build you back up, basically, and it's just uh, almost like a literal, metaphor. So just to say, hey, you guys, you still have a civilian mindset, and we're trying to break you out of that, and then uh, build you up into being somebody that's in the military. Um, yeah, so after that, you guys will bust on down there. That day one, you're gonna have like drill sergeants giving you a rundown. As soon as they get on that bus, they're gonna tell you exactly what's gonna go down. They're gonna tell you this, that, and the third. You won't have this, you won't have that, but you will have this, that, and that. So what I'm saying, they're basically telling you like from this point on is everything's gonna be different. So there's going to be no use of cell phones. There's going to be hardly any interaction with the opposite sex. There's going to be rigorous training. Um, and they'll just give you like a small speech about how everything's going to go. And from that point on, there's going to be drill sergeants waiting outside that bus, and it's going to be like shark infested waters. And you're just going to have to adapt. At least like when we came in, it was just like I used to see drill sergeants swarming, you know, people who couldn't really like kind of control themselves. Like they were either laughing or, and I like to laugh too, but they were laughing, they were moving around and stuff like that. Like you had to basically kind of be like a mannequin almost, you know. So it kind of was hurting some people because they'd never been around that type of order. So it's all good, And like I said, you're getting introduced into the military, so they'll still be doing stuff. And then some people are trying to fight back. Now, mind you, I don't know why some people will try to fight back at drill sergeants. A lot of these guys are highly trained, all right, from hand to hand combat to the use of weapons. And I know some people, they want to play tough and be like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? Well, da 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 da. I'm from the streets, da da da. I said, look, man, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. All right, that whole entire city was engulfed in you know what I'm saying, some street stuff. So hey, you know what I'm saying, you can bring it if you want it, but in the military it's a little bit different. Same with Marines. I would highly suggest nobody fight a Marine. Them guys, that's all they ever did. You know what I'm saying? You can go look this stuff up on YouTube. They training on the beach right now. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you, man, the same stuff you probably see, uh, and that's another thing. Is the hand to hand combat training is similar to the stuff that you see through UFC. So don't think that you just gonna like come over there and do what you want. It ain't gonna happen like that. And then a lot of these guys that are like NCOs and stuff like that, non-commissioned officers. Some of these guys get into other things uh, like Thai boxing, like kickboxing and stuff like that, and um, regular boxing. They get into a lot of things, man. So be careful, tread carefully if you want to try to test the waters and stuff like that. But a long time ago, that type of things used to happen where you might have a new private. They would have came in and they would have tried to like actually fight a drill sergeant. You know what I'm saying? And I just be looking at them like they crazy. And I said, bro, it's not gonna go down how you think it's gonna go down. A lot of them drill sergeants, especially ones that kind of trained us. You know what I'm saying? They were like extremely in shape. I'm talking about these guys are the type of guys that could go out there, drink all night, and still go out there and run 4 miles like it wasn't nothing. That was like a different type of soldier back then. And the further you go back, is it gets even more extreme. Like them guys were really trained killers out there. You know what I'm saying? And they did their best training us. So, like I said, what I'm saying, just don't run up on people like that, especially if you're brand new to the military and stuff like that. I mean, those guys are basically there to kind of like just play the game. And when I say play the game, I mean they're there to kind of, I guess you could say, just kind of like break you out of that the old way of thinking of the places that you came from. No matter if you came from the streets or you just came from a regular uh, you know suburban lifestyle, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? It's just, listen, it's just respect at the end of the day. They still respect you, but they have to play their part as a drill sergeant in order to train you, because you can't really just have somebody that's nice to you 24/7 and then call that real training. As far from a military aspect, they have to be, they have to talk crazy to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like I know some of y'all probably never saw this show, like something like Scared Straight. Like, these are prisoners that are literally around children, and the mentality of most guys that come going to prison. You know what I'm saying? They doing all types of crazy stuff up in there. But when they talk to those kids, they're there to change their minds and have them think in a different aspect. So basically, like, that's what the military is. It's like Scared Straight, but in the military. That's it. You know. But yeah, man, that's what's gonna happen with that. And then, like, your first night there, you guys are gonna be paired off, and you'll be into like a big bay, or yeah, you'll be basically in the big bay, and the bay is just your living area. So that living area has to be maintained at all times. Just giving you guys a heads up. Like as soon as you guys come back in and stuff like that, they want to see that place stay pretty pristine. Like the floors had to be like mopped and buffed and all that, and then what else? Then cleaning the bathrooms and stuff like that. You had to make sure those, like, all of you guys will be doing all that stuff. You'll be taking care of that, and that's just teaching you to stay clean, because everybody's raised different, and that's a for sure statement. Everybody's raised different, so the way that that everybody lives, it has to be on one accord. So you can't be, having your dirty laundry all over the place, or you trying to bring in food from the defect, because that ain't gonna happen. They're gonna get at you about that. Um, just all types of stuff that creates a dirty environment. They're not having that. Them drill songs are gonna get on you about that, and they're gonna have everybody cleaning. Now, like I said, if this ain't for you, you can get out. But at the same time, it's like, it's just a small, you know, or small little rough patch of what you have to go through in order to get to, the smooth road that's ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? And basic training ain't that bad, man. Like I said, it's just a game. That's all. And once you play the game, you'll eventually win in the end. Uh, Especially the longer that you stay in. 20 years is a goal. But if you don't make that 20 years, like I said, there's other things that you can do that still benefits you from being in the military. Um, so that that first night goes by. That very next morning, that's when they on top of you, bro. They about to get at you. So they gonna wake you up early in the morning. You have to go down there. They're gonna be yelling again, da 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 da, and it's just gonna get crazy and stuff, man. That's all, man. You just gonna be like sleepy, because they came in and got us at like 4 o'clock in the morning, or 3:30 or something like that, and I was just like, man, I was already up. I couldn't sleep no ways, man, because I was trying to be ahead of the game a little bit. And I was just sitting there. I was like, man, I know these guys about to come in, because I heard them talking downstairs anyway. So I said, watch, these guys finna come upstairs. Sure enough, they did, yelling at everybody. So yeah, after that, they're gonna take you over there and get you guys. They're gonna get you guys your clothing and stuff like that, like your uniforms. They're gonna get you all your uniforms gonna be issued. They're gonna get you guys is gonna have a haircut, for all the males and stuff like that. Females is a little bit different. I know back when I was going in there were females that were showing up to basic training with wigs on and stuff like that, because you have to be within a certain guideline, within military regulations, especially in the army. Your hair had to be a certain way. So for you females that are listening, just ensure that you're doing something. And it might be different. I would say this too. Ask your recruiter, if you're a female, ask your recruiter about, the hair stuff, because I know some of you are very concerned about, like, uh, what you have, going on as far as, like, your hair and stuff. So don't trip. Just that's a simple question that can be answered. I think it's different now, because I see females doing a lot more, and I think they have changed the actual regulations for the hair for females. So yeah, check it out, as well as males too. I think you can wear a little bit more hair and stuff like that. Um, and speaking of hair, for guys shaving, there's always if you were like me and you had like you know very coarse hair, or you get bumps from shaving and stuff like that. Um, you can get like profiles and stuff like that, and you're able to grow your hair out, but it has to be within regulations, as far as the military goes. They've changed it a little bit, so I'm starting to see guys walking around with you know damn near like a Rick Ross beard or something. It's a little bit different from back when we came in. When we came in, it was just you had a straight mustache. That was it. That's all you can have, and that had to be within regulation. That had to be tapered. So there you go. Um, and as far as like hairstyles in the military, tapering for men is probably the number one thing. Because there are guys nowadays that's walking around with about 3 inches high of hair on top of their head, or possibly more. Some of them look like. But tapering is the main thing. As long as it's clean cut, around the back of your neck and on the sides, you should be good to go. You know, they can't really say nothing to you. But if it's getting too high on top, yeah, they're going to get at you about that. Now, during basic training, it may be a little bit different. So I know when we came in, it was, you know, even Steven, man, it was all the way around. Number one, cut it all off. That's right. You walking around looking like the TNT cast, you know, like Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny and all them. You ain't gonna have nothing up top, man. So yeah, man, just you know, get ready for that because they may spun you around in the barber chair and you ain't got nothing on top, man. So it is what it is. But like I said, it's a small rough patch to a smoother road ahead of you. So don't trip, man. Um, Now during basic training, before you know, I forgot to get into this. You'll be going through 4 phases. You should have a yellow phase, a red phase, uh, a white phase, and a blue phase. Now I'm not too sure about Navy and Marines and the Air Force, but that's how we ended up doing stuff. So you know, um, it might be a little bit different, you know, with the other branches of service. So you know, don't trip. Um, as far as like each one of the phases, let me get into that. Each phase is you know entirely different, and they kind of always kind of compare it to more like a pyramid structure, the way that you'll be moving. So for your like your white phase, no, excuse me, your yellow phase, that's basically at the bottom of the pyramid, and you'll be kind of gradually moving up, and you'll be going to the red phase, and this is where it starts to get hectic. You know what I'm saying? During the red phase, once you hit that red phase, man, that's it's gonna be like you know 100% of the meat and potatoes of like what the military feels like. All right, so it's going to be a lot of rigorous training. It's going to be a lot of yelling. It's going to be a lot of tears coming through some people's eyes. And once you get through this portion of the red phase, and you get to that white phase, and it starts to gradually go down to the blue phase, it's all downhill from there. So this is not hard. The red phase is the only portion that you got to really worry about because this yellow phase is just an introduction phase. It's just you going to classroom, you know, settings every 5 minutes. You'll be sitting in class doing PowerPoint presentations. I'm telling you right now, don't fall asleep either. You know, just listen, just keep yourself up as much as you can. Drink water. Stand up if you have to, because I think some of those drill songs is going to suggest that anyways. They're going to be like, stand up. You know, usually you know, falling asleep. You know what I'm saying? Y'all in my house now, so da da da. So they're going to ensure that you guys are up because some of the information that's on some of those PowerPoint training classes, they're very important. And I would say, you know, pay attention as much as you can because this is going to be information that's going to be reintroduced to you throughout basic training. So just make sure you guys are paying attention. Um, what else they got in there for yellow phase? They got you're going to get introduced to by the numbers on how to do PT and also your introduction to drill and ceremony and stuff like that. So you guys will be learning how to look like soldiers from you know from a marching standpoint, from a physical training standpoint, where you're doing PT, you know, 5 days out of the week, you know, uh, and you guys will be sitting up there. Probably in basic training, I think they do it 6 days out of the week now, if I'm not mistaken. But 5 to 6 days out of the week, you'll be doing basic PT every single day, except for Sundays, and you'll be you know getting in shape bit by bit, man, because this is the portion that's going to help you, you know, also maintain yourself throughout your military career, and it will carry over into you know the civilian side of the house. Don't happen for everybody. I ain't gonna lie. I've seen some people fall right out of shape. You know what I'm saying when they get out, but it's okay though. And it may be due to you having like back problems or knee problems or stuff like that. So it's understandable. But yeah, this stuff carries over with you. And there's been uh, instances where guys that are pushing 50 and they've done 20 years in the military, and man, some of them guys can still run to this day. You know, and it's kind of amazing to see that. And they'll go out there and run like it ain't nothing, and outrun some people that's like 18, 19, and 20 years old. That outrun them easy. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of vibe that you want to set for yourself while you're in the military, because you want to build these things that's going to help you in life. And health and exercise and stuff like that is very important. It's very imperative. So yeah, make sure that you're taking that side of the house extremely serious, especially like the technique on how you do these exercises, because it's going to really like help you out as far as like maintaining your health and stuff like that. But especially from like an endurance standpoint, because that's what to me, being in the military from a physical aspect is all about. Just maintaining that endurance. Because once I got into like my first and second duty station, we was out there like running. Like when we were in Korea, we used to run up the hills out there. The air is really thin up there, extremely thin. And when it gets cold, it gets even worse. And South Korea was like one of the coldest places I've ever been. But when it gets cold out there and that air gets thin, bro, I'm trying to tell you, it's gonna help you. And high elevation always helps, anyways. But like when you're doing basic training back in the States, oh yeah, if you ain't never ran in your life, you're gonna run today. Some of y'all gonna be coughing like it's a biochemical warfare that's outside or something like that, like the like the air been contaminated. But that's how much running and how much exercise you'll be doing throughout basic training. So get ready for it. Now you be going into the red phase, and this is the phase that I was talking about earlier. That red phase is going to be one of those phases that's going to like make or break you, and this is the phase that you really want to pass. All right, so don't trip. Just buckle down and get mentally prepared. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to kind of throw you off, but I want you to maintain focus while you're in there, because you'll be doing a lot of rigorous training. It's going to be a lot of smoke sessions. And if you don't know what a smoke session is, it's basically like when you know, they kind of punish you through exercises. That's basically what they do. You know, uh, y'all be talking in formation or something. They be like, "Oh, you want to talk? That's all right. Get down." And they say, "Get down." You doing push-ups and stuff, and they're gonna probably do it by the numbers just to burn you out. They're gonna be like, "Down, up." And you're gonna be sitting up there struggling because that slow count is gonna mess you up, because your arms gonna start burning, chest gonna be burning and stuff like that. And some people don't make it, man. And they be up there making fun of you and stuff. The drill sergeants will. They're gonna be up there like, "Yeah, man, you up there you shaking like a stripper now." You know what I'm saying? Thought you was tough. They gonna be up there, kind of playing mind games with you. So don't trip, man. Them guys is just really helping you out. That's all. Because at the end of the whole basic training thing, they gonna act like they your best friend. Just get ready for that. That's all I'm saying. Um, Now during the red phase, you will have this is stuff I was explaining earlier. Like you'll get to train in hand-to-hand combat, and you'll also get to train on the pugil sticks. Now, the hand-to-hand combat, like I said before, is kind of similar to what they do in the UFC. Not 100%. You ain't doing no Superman punch and all that old back. No back spinning punch and all that. Come on now, you ain't finna do all that. They're gonna teach you how to do stuff like grappling movements and stuff like that. So all your rear naked chokes and your I ain't gonna say ankle lock and stuff like that. I don't think that's within the book, because I actually even after I did basic training, years down the line, I did uh, hand to hand combat, level one. So and that was pretty fun too. It was just like being back in basic training. However, it was more like an introduction to you know uh, the more advanced ways of doing hand to hand combat, because they'll give you like a textbook, or like a, and not even really like a real textbook. It's like a stack of papers, but it's all stapled together, and like a book would be. They're gonna staple off the three ends, and then and you just got to read it. It's kind of like your Bible and stuff like that. But yeah, like when you're in basic training, getting back to basic training, you guys are just in there to do it by the numbers. When I say by the numbers, I mean taking it slow, showing you exactly what to do, and and then you guys will get out there and spar with each other and stuff like that. So yeah, um, pugils. If you don't know what pugils is it looked like a giant Q-tip, or giant stick that has two. They have a cushion at each end, and so this is kind of like where it's just basically for fun, but it's also, to me, it's kind of simulating like how you would use your weapon, like your M16. It kind of simulates like how you would use that if you, let's say, if you ran out of ammo. You sitting up there trying to defend yourself, and you can easily use a butt stock, and you can swing and hit at somebody's head, and potentially defend yourself in a better manner. So I give you like a little rundown of my experience with Pugil sticks. So uh, I kind of noticed, like when I was in basic, I noticed that they were pairing people off based off of size, and I'm 6 feet, and I was probably like 175, 185 pounds back then. And they found this guy, the only guy that was 6 feet or more, but he was like 6'2", 6'3", big old African dude, man, and he looked like he looked like an action figure, because you can tell, and he was like an older guy. He was like probably 35 or something at the time. And this dude, man, he was just strong, man. He was like African Ivan Drago or something. Like I said, man, this dude is way too strong. So like when we started to spar with the pugil sticks, he hit me across the jaw with that thing, man. Man, I was holding my jaw like, Jesus. What I'm saying? So I had to get mine back in blood. So what I did was, I did like Mike Tyson would do, and I attacked the body first, and then I hit him up top. And he was so angry, man. It was just so funny, low key. But I had such of a poker face. I was looking at him like, yeah, I'll do it again. And he was trying to come at me, but the drill songs had to break it up, and it was like, oh, so they had to cut it off right there. And there was a lot of those pugil fights that were like that. So some of the people were, because you sometimes the drill song will allow you to call somebody out too as well. Same with hand to hand combat, they allowed you to call somebody out. And you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes some of the soldiers had problems with each other within the barracks, and you'll get that. But like I said, teamwork make the dream work, man. So don't fall into trying to go against your battle buddies and stuff like that. Just try to work with them as much as you possibly can, despite you having differences and stuff like that. Because that's how we got through basic training, is just by teamwork. So yeah, just enjoy that portion of the red phase and stuff like that. The and and again, take it very seriously at the same time, because this is also something that can help you if you're in a situation where you have to defend yourself. Um, let's see. They'll also have these obstacle courses. They have a confidence course, and they have a Warriors tower that's out there. The Warriors tower is well. Let me get on the confidence course first. First and foremost, the confidence course is more like a real like obstacle course. So you guys will be running through that, and you have to do it within a certain amount of time. But the whole thing is that everybody's not physically inclined to just complete the confidence course on their own. So what you guys are going to have to do, you guys are going to have to help each other out because there are people that are shorter. There's people who don't have the, I guess the the muscular capabilities of doing certain things. So you guys are going to have to help each other out. So just don't go out there trying to complete the course by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Go back and get your battle buddies if you can to help them out. You know what I'm saying? Because some people, everybody's not inclined or physically inclined to get through all of that training. And that's the whole point. And then the drill sergeants are going to be out there looking to see if you're doing so. And if you're not doing so, they're pretty much they might even tell you like help each other out, go get your battle buddy, you know what I'm saying? So there you go with that. Now as far as the Warriors Tower is just like another portion of the course. So you'll be climbing a lot of things. You'll be kind of like what they call that, man. But you're pretty much not propelling, but you'll be doing a lot of like higher level or not a higher level. I would say, I guess, what would you call that, man? You're gonna be doing a lot of climbing and stuff like that. So it's gonna be, you'll see. Just look up the Warriors Tower on YouTube. I'm pretty sure somebody probably did a video on it by now. And you guys will get to see exactly what the Warriors Tower looks like. It is higher level of training, but it's like it's something I believe isn't completely that hard. Once you really put your mind to it, it's something that you got to pass. So you guys will be all will be able to pass that with flying colors because it's just something that's just required for you to do. So you'll get through that. And then if the drill sergeant's going to be helping you out more so at that particular point versus you guys helping each other out like I said before in the previous course or the confidence course. So and then you guys, last but not least, on the red phase, you guys will be taking your official first PT test. So this is the one that actually goes against your actual qualifications if you go into the next phase. So, make sure that you're doing your best. Make sure that you're excelling. Make sure that you are putting forth the effort to complete and pass this PT test. Now, as far as I'll give you a little tip as far as like running and stuff like that. Try to control your breathing as much as possible. Because I know as far as like for some of us who aren't used to running and stuff like that, running takes a lot of will and it takes a lot of strength to complete, especially when it's going past a mile, 2 miles or so. You have to dig down deep and then try to complete that portion of the PT test as much as you possibly can. Just go out there and push yourself. Pace yourself is another tip I want to give. Please pace yourself. So if you're used to running at a certain pace, that's a pretty good pace. Maintain that pace. But if you're like at a slower pace, please pick it up as much as you possibly can. Widen your stride as well. So when you widen your stride, say if you're running like this and this is it and this is all you're giving yourself, please widen your stride so you can get as much ground to be covered when you're actually running. And your drill sergeants are going to also give you more tips and swinging your arms and stuff like that. Make sure that you're doing these things when you're running and stuff like that. Some people run a little bit different. I've seen different styles of running for people that were pretty good or great at running. So if you already have like a formula that you use when you run, please maintain that. And then, what I'm saying, when you're doing PT, just excel at it, because the higher the score, the better you uh, come off as a soldier, because all that stuff should be geared towards you getting promoted and stuff. So that's what you want to, kind of maintain throughout your whole military career is, of course, your physical, your PT test, and then another portion is just, range qualification, and then um, also your basic knowledge of what you've learned in the military, and then of course, you opting to go to school. So all those four things are going to help you throughout your military career, and then just gaining more knowledge on your own. A lot of those guys, like that stuff, and then of course, building your confidence over a time period, because that's something that you'll need if you are thinking about, getting promoted and becoming, one of the leaders. I don't care if it's on the non-commissioned officer side or the officer side. Just push for as much as you possibly can if you plan on making this, a great career. Um, and after you came out that red phase, man, this is where it starts to, go downhill. So, it's a little bit more relaxed, and then you'll start getting into the white phase. The white phase is they're gonna just start doing a lot more, you know, military stuff at this point, like tactical training, squad movements, platoon movements, and this is they're gonna start training for your marksmanship, and then you also get a, if they're still doing it, you'll get your hands on like training or how to fire other weapons and stuff. So mainly in the military, most of us carry, uh, I'd say, the same 3 or 4 weapons. So I know if you're longer you're in the military, you might see other people carry other different types of weapons, especially if you deploy and stuff like that. But mainly it's 9 mil, M16 or M4 or M249. Now, the weapons that you'll be able to at least train on will be, outside of those I just mentioned, will be like 203. I'm not too sure if they still got guys carrying around a 203, but and if you don't know what a 203 is, I always use this example. You ever see Scarface, the movie with Al Pacino? Al Pacino had the 203 towards the end of the movie. You see, we want to play rough, and then he had the grenade portion, the great grenade launcher portion at the bottom of the weapon. But that's what a 203 is. So it's like an M16 and a grenade launcher hybrid, if you will. And it's pretty accurate. It's pretty fun to fire. So you guys get a chance to fire that. You also get a chance to fire AT4, which is like for lack of better terms, for those that's civilians and stuff. It's more like a rocket launcher. So or bazooka. Some of y'all use that terminology, bazooka. It's kind of like that. So and that's also fun to fire. It's kind of like an anti-tank weapon, or is an anti-tank weapon, because when we fired it back in basic training, our target was a tank, which was about 300 meters away. So, that was pretty fun. Also, you'll be firing a Mach 19 and a 50 cal. Now, those are your biggest weapons when it comes down to laying down suppressive fire. So, you guys will get a chance to fire those, because wait till you see it too, man. And if you want to see like what it looks like, I'm pretty sure people have made videos about that as well, like firing Mach 19. So MK19 just looking for that on YouTube or and especially the 50 cal, and just type in Army or military behind it, and you'll see how that looks. And those were two of the most important weapons while we were deployed, amongst other advanced weapons that are out there. But you guys won't be firing those weapons. A lot of this stuff is, just basic weaponry. So this is the stuff that you'll see every day. Now, if you want to see those other weapons, you'll have to go into other units like field artillery and infantry and all that. Yeah, it's probably specialized maybe, but definitely in field infantry and field artillery and infantry. So those are the two that we start to see other types of weapons that are a little bit more advanced. As they got so much stuff in the military, when it comes to weapons and stuff like that. But those basic weapons that I mentioned just 2 or 3 minutes ago, those are the ones that that you guys need to kind of master. And these will also you mastering these weapons will help you, advancing your career in the military, because the more weapon knowledge that you know, that's what's going to make you more of a dependable soldier, and dependable in a good way, because you'll be able to teach others, especially when it comes to refreshing younger soldiers about how to use it and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. Let's see. So weapons qualification, and I believe like most of the weapons, your weapons qualification is gonna basically be M16s. Not too sure if they're allowing people to fire M4s, but M16 is because that's what we were firing when we had to qualify in basic. And qualification is something that has to be done. So again, this is similar to like what I said about PT. This is just one of the things that you have to qualify in order to get to the next phase. So weapons qualification is something that you have to take serious. So this is something that you have to take serious in order to get to the blue phase. So yeah, take your weapons qualification as serious as possible. Going to the range and stuff like that for the qualification of the M16 is fairly easy. Now, beforehand, during that white or red phase, I can't remember which one, but they're going to give you in general breakdown of how to operate the M16, and then you'll get a more of a visual aspect, I believe, when you get to the white phase. So you start to see how things work when it's actually in your hands. And also, there's another tip: just cleaning your weapon. Because you will get issued a weapon while you're in basic training. Just make sure that your weapon is pristine, it's very clean, and when it's time to actually fire, make sure it's oiled up pretty good, because they give you guys what they call CLP, which is a cleaning lubricant, but it's also something that's very important when it comes to firing your weapon. And make sure that you have all your parts. Do not lose any of your parts, okay? Don't lose, because some people were losing their like firing pin and stuff like that, and you don't want to do that. It's a very small piece, but make sure that you have all your pieces with you, because this is these are what they label as sensitive items. So make sure that you're keeping up with all this stuff. Oh, and I also forgot, let me break away from this. I think you will have to go through, the gas chamber and stuff like that. So the gas chamber, just touching on it a little bit, is just you going through there, and basically they're gonna walk you in there. You guys are all gonna have your gas masks on, and then they're gonna put out that liquid, not liquid, but it's like it's basically a smoke, but it's I don't know exactly the word. I forgot exactly what it is, but it's gonna like basically have you coughing and gasping and stuff like that. So this is This is just training when it comes to biochemical warfare. It's that's all it is. They're gonna ask you like questions as the gases surrounding the room that they'll be putting you in, and they're gonna ask you like to say your first and last name, or they probably might ask you some common knowledge on military stuff and or army stuff at that particular time, and then you're just gonna be sitting up there coughing and gasping and stuff like that. But the longer you stay in there, that's the whole purpose. The longer you stay in there, that's what's gonna be a determinant factor. Because what they don't want you to do is just to run up out of there and stuff like that. So they're gonna give like they're gonna have a set time. I already know how them drill songs work. They're gonna have a set time of you being in there, and then after everything's all said and done, you'll put your mask back on, and then you'll exit out the room. And they just want you to go through that portion of the training just to kind of test you out. It's similar to like when people, uh, especially like those cops and stuff, when they get maced and all that. And I know officers go through that for sure. But when, just getting your body adjusted to stuff like that. That's all that is, man. And as long as you ain't, folding and stuff like that, because I've seen so many people run out of that gas chamber. They run out of that real quick. But here's the thing, though: when you run out of there, they're gonna make you go back in there. So I'm just giving you a heads up of like how that's gonna turn out for you. So that's my best advice: stay in there, don't fold. Just wait till everything is over with, and then you guys will be done with that portion. And that's it. This biochemical warfare. That's it. And by the time you get to your first, or second, third, and fourth unit, you'll be issued a gas mask anyways. You're not going to keep it on you, but it'll stay in the arms room. But by the time you guys have to use it for training purposes or whatever, then you guys will be using that gas mask. Getting back to qualifications, the range qualifications, for the M16, as far as back I remember, I think it's you have to shoot between, what was it, like 32 to qualify, and it just ranges, but it'll be like basically 40 shots, but you'll have two magazines, and M16 carries 30 rounds in the magazine, so you'll have they'll give you like what was it? I think they'll give you 30 30 rounds, or they'll break it down. They'll probably give you 10 rounds here and another 10 rounds here, and da da da. It depends on like how they allow you to shoot, but they'll tell you exactly how much you're going to shoot while you're qualifying. And as long as you range in from anywhere from 32, 35 to and some people get 40 out of 40, you're good. But and that's just to qualify. Now, if you really want to be on top of the game, you're gonna try to at least aim to get like all those shots off and try to hit like 40. Because I've seen one dude, he was white dude, he had like 40 out of 40 when I was in basic training. He was really good, but his parents or grandparents used to be in the military, so he was somewhere from the Midwest, and somebody taught him how to shoot, at a young age. So for those of you who have been taught how to shoot, how to operate your weapon correctly at a younger age, you already got a leg up on the competition. So not even competition, but you got a leg up on the rest of your battle buddies and stuff like that. So, and if you are that good, please help your battle buddies out. That's always a good thing, what I'm saying, give them points, tips and stuff like that. Now, for me, a tip that I can give you guys is just to, especially when it comes to firing at the position where you're laying down and using your sandbags, just stack the sandbags as in a comfortable manner. What's comfortable for you, you know. Some people stack it three high. Some people stack them two high. Some people just have one. Some people don't even use any. But I think you know, sandbags is what kind of helps stabilize the weapon. So you know, please use it to your advantage. Uh, but for me, because I think I used to stack mine too high, if I'm not mistaken, and then I would try to maintain my base. So what I mean by base is like when you get down into, you know, the prone position. I forgot the actual term. Once you get down into the prone position, make sure that your elbows are kind of at a comfortable distance apart. But you know what I'm saying, I would say pretty much almost shoulder width, and and then place that buttstock in the crease of your shoulder, and try to like pull back a little bit just to maintain it. Not too much, but just enough. And then also work on your breathing, because if you notice while you're in that position, your weapon is gonna like move based on how you breathe. And this is, I guess, that's probably why it's so important when those guys go through sniper school and stuff like that. They're maintaining a lot of different factors when it comes to firing an M16. So yeah, man, just get out there and you know, do your best when you get out there. So you know, once you've qualified and you've exited the range, you know, it's all downhill from there. So you know, to just make sure that you're doing your best, and then also these your scores will reflect on like what kind of you know, badge that you get. So you know what I'm saying, just consider that as well, and it's kind of like a trophy for yourself when it comes to those awards that you, or that badge that you get. Uh, Also, and I'm not too sure if they do the grenade range anymore. We had to learn how to throw a grenade, but that was like one of the bigger things, and that's also another badge that you'll get to add on to your uniform, your dress blues, because that's gonna it's gonna be like you're a walk-in ERB or something like that. People don't know what ERBs are, but that's like your breakdown of all your accomplishments on your record. So yeah. So again, if you're doing the grenade qualification and as well as your weapon qualification, please do your 100% best. That way you can have the better results, because a lot of this stuff again goes towards promotion from what I remember. Um, yeah, man. And then lastly, land navigation, which for some of you you'll see again once you go into being promoted to become an NCO. Land navigation is extremely important. And you'll notice that, you know, some of you who get a chance to deploy, land navigation is always used, because usually they have the officers, you know, guiding you guys around and stuff like that during convoys and what have you. But it's good to know for yourself. That way you can actually know exactly where you are and how to use a map properly and stuff like that, and how to identify things on a map. You know, like, you know, valleys and, you know, hills and all that old good stuff. You know, you'll be able to properly identify everything on the map just by looking at it. And again, you know, always use your what they call it, the your Jesus, what do they call it, man? Always use your Jesus, hold on. Yeah, but just use that key that's on the map, your map key. I forgot what they call it, but use that in order to kind of line yourself up on the map and stuff like that. And that's another thing, you know, always find yourself on the map. That's important tip. You know, one of the NCOs gave me, you know, lay the map down, adjust it to how it looks based on your surroundings, and then kind of go from there. That's it. You know, you can't lose. That's what it's called, the legend. on the map. Use the map legend. All right. I almost forgot everything, man. Been out the loop for a minute, but yeah, use that map legend for everything. Especially if you don't know how things are and stuff like that. But they'll teach you how to find your points on the map and how also kind of adjust yourself by using the map by laying it down like I was explaining earlier. So that's the most important thing. Whatever you see in front of you, that's how you should be moving on the map. So, and again, like I said, if you thinking about becoming an NCO and stuff like that, this is what's going to be very important when it comes to you know qualifying and graduating from Warriors Leader course. I think it's still called that if I'm not mistaken. It was also called PLDC a long time ago for those of you that might be watching that are veterans. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I think the course was a little bit longer. You had to stay in there about a month versus staying there for 2 to 3 weeks or so. It used to be way longer and a little bit more detailed, to put it that way. Because they for sure offered that to me when I got to my first unit, and I was just a private, and I was looking at them. I said, PLDC, what is that? And I said, I don't even think I'm cut out for that right now. I just felt like I was a good soldier, but I didn't feel like I was up to be chose or whatever. But back then they were trying to push you to get promoted and stuff like that. But as long as you was kind of setting the example, that's what they were looking for. So they wanted you to, be a standard for other soldiers, because that's basically what it's all about when you become an NCO, or if you're an officer, you want to lead from the front, as they say. But after that, once you complete that white phase, you guys are getting into that blue phase. Now getting into that blue phase, you guys will be doing a FTX, which is a field training exercises. I know X is for exercise, and E is how it's actually spelled. But yeah, FTX, it's military jargon, so don't worry about it. But FTX is when you guys will go out there for a couple of days or so, and you'll be introduced into the elements. You're not gonna. It's not very hard. Just make sure that you're taking care of yourself while you're out there, because there will be things crawling around. Back when I was in basic training, there was a guy that got bit by a brown recluse, which is the spider. If you don't know what it looks like, but his the inside of his thigh, because that's where he got bit at, it looked like it was like a little golf ball or something. That's how big that wound got. And basically what the doctors had to do, they had to cut it open and stuff it with gauze and drain it as well. So yeah, you have to be careful when you're out there in the element. Make sure that you're shaking out your boots, make sure you're shaking out your uniform, and as well as your sleeping bag for sure, because there's things that's crawling around out there. And do not wear, especially for some of you guys and some of you females, you know what I'm saying? Just don't go out there trying to wear scented this and scented that. Keep all that stuff, in your old bag, your civilian bag. Don't bring all that stuff out there, because bugs are attracted to those types of scents and stuff like that for some odd reason. And also, while you're out there, please, maintain and drink water. And I think you guys they're still doing that. You guys will be doing a 12-mile ruck march. Listen, it's not as bad as it seems. It gets kind of tiring once the more you get towards the end, but it's also kind of worth it, because some people never walk that far in their entire life. I know I did growing up, because it was just something that our family kind of did. We like to walk a lot, but and then growing up in Atlanta, especially in my own neighborhood, I would be, walking from my house to the nearest gym, which was probably about 4 miles away or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And it was just something that I was kind of already used to on a lower level. But 12 miles is a lot. Trust me, man. And then once you complete it, kind of builds up a little bit when it comes to your character and stuff. You're like, dang, I completed that. Well, I can do some other stuff now. And so it's basically a win for you at the end of the whole thing. I know it sounds crazy the way I'm explaining it, but that's how you should use it. You should use it as a building block for yourself, because if you can do that, you can do a lot of other things as well. Um, Also during the FTX, I think there might be like a little small obstacle course that you have to go through where they'll have you laying on the ground, and you'll be low crawling, and then there'll be tracer rounds fired above you. So I mean, you're low to the ground, and these are real tracer rounds too. Um, I remember the cycle that came in before me, and the rest of the guys that were in with me during my cycle of basic training. There was a guy that actually stood up during that portion of the FTX, and he lost his life thinking that those tracer rounds weren't real, or he might have been suicidal. I'm not too sure, but yeah, he ended up losing his life. So just like I said before, when you're doing these types of trainings and stuff like that, just be mindful and stuff. It's fun at the same time, but it's just be mindful that a lot of this stuff is real. So don't kill yourself, man. Trying to be different, or if you're suicidal, and if you are suicidal, please talk to the chaplain. And I'm not saying that in a funny manner at all, because chaplain helped me when I actually got out of basic training and stuff like that. So it's something that you can actually use. Chaplains are always there to help and stuff like that. Even if you're not religious, sometimes they can give you a point of view on how to look at things, whatever may be going on with you, whether you have family issues, whether you have, you know, things that you have to deal within yourself. There's always somebody to help you out, and uh, and you can always talk to your NCOs as well, and some officers too. If they're not too busy, you can talk to them, and they can always give you, uh, help. You know, because we all been there, so don't trip. Um, what else? And then you have your graduation. You guys are gonna get issued your dress blues. They're gonna measure you guys up at CIF. Same place where you got your regular uniforms and your PT uniforms at, and then you guys are gonna have to help each other out when it comes to placing or piecing your class A's together, because they're gonna have. Um, so I think you do get like at least one or two awards on there after completing basic. So those one and two awards were all worth it. After completing all that, and the more you stay in the military, the longer you stay in, the more awards you start to accumulate over a time period, and uh, this looks good when it comes to promotion time as well. Because when you're being considered for getting promoted to the next level, uh, most of your senior NCOs and senior officers will be looking at a lot of that stuff when it comes to mainly your senior NCOs, but they'll be looking at all that stuff when it comes time for you to get promoted, you know. And especially if you're a pretty good soldier, you showing up on time, like I said before, just show up. Make sure you're there. Make sure you're accounted for. They take a lot of that, because accountability is a big thing. Punctuation is a big thing in the military. So just make sure you guys are doing the right thing, and your military career will go so far. And most of the guys that especially that I was in with the first, 3 years of my military career, most of those guys are doing very excellent right now. Whether especially the ones that stayed in 20 years, they're first sergeants, they're sergeant majors now. You know what I'm saying? or if they might just be, E7s, or just a plain E8 uh, without the diamond, and they're doing extremely well for themselves, man. And I have to salute those guys to, staying in for that long, and doing something that helped not only themselves but their families as well. So, those guys are some of the best that I've came in with, and we've all, gained so much knowledge over the years, just being in the military. But them more so because they stayed in longer, so they are pretty much like a shining example of what a soldier or what a military person is supposed to look like. So, like I said, you guys want to get there, and you want to, uh, be like an example for somebody else who may not have much hope and stuff like that. You guys can go out there and, join the military and make something of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because the way the world is working today, you want to make sure that you're stable. All of us are not going to become rich overnight and stuff like that. So what you want to do is create stability for yourself, while you're in the military. So again, I appreciate you guys for your time, and I thank you for, looking at this video. Like, comment, and subscribe to this video. I will be doing more content in relation to the military. If you guys want to know other things, just leave a comment down below. I'll even try to get into just mainly basketball, but I'll get into, like, debates if you want to. How it go, Jordan versus LeBron, stuff like that. I got you, man. I debate on IG all the time, me talking to people. But yeah, man, that's it, man. Just creating good content, at least on this side of the house, when it comes to those who are just curious about what it looks like on the other side of the map when it comes to the military. Because it's very, 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 very beneficial for you guys after joining up. So now, I would just, like I said, it's just a suggestion. It ain't nothing like, something that you got to do or something like that. I'm not advocating in that way. I'm just, telling you that's something that can create stability in your life. So, make sure that you guys are able to use that. Yeah, other than that, man, appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I'll see you for the next episode.